Wait. Wait a second. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be reading books and series that I have started. So trying to get some series checked off my list. The 3 books that I have picked out for today's video are Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune, which is the 2nd book in the House in the Cerulean Sea duology. Crescent City 2, House of Sky and Breath, which is the 2nd book in the Crescent City trilogy. And The Family Remains by Lisa Jewell, which is the 2nd book in the Family Upstairs duology. So these are all series that I've read the 1st book of and ready to check them off my list. I won't yap too much because I do a lot of that in the rest of the video. Make sure you are subscribed down below and leave me a comment what series you are in the middle of right now. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Hi friends, I am about to start Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune. This is the sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea, which is one of my favorite books ever. I'm not sure if there are going to be like more books in this series. Kind of feel like the great thing about the last book was it ended in a way that sort of opened it up for another book, but didn't leave anything really on a cliffhanger. Actually, I take that back. There's like one cliffhanger at the end of the last book, but just reread the 1st book last month and reminded me how much I enjoy that book. And so I'm so excited to get back to those characters, see what's happening in this book. I've heard that this one's a little bit more focused on like the fight the power justice part of things. So we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna start reading this and I will update you guys when something interesting happens. Hi friends, I just wanted to come on here and give you a little update because I've been reading Somewhere Beyond the Sea for the last couple of days and I've hit just past the page 100 mark and I am loving this book. I don't think I really told you what it was about and there's not really that much I can say because it is a sequel to another book and I don't want to spoil the other book, but it's pretty much following Linus, who in the 1st book is the department in charge of magical youth inspector that comes to the island where the orphanage is, and Arthur, who is the owner, leader, father of that orphanage. And the main premise of this book seems to be they are pretty much fighting against the government for rights for magical youth and adults. And it's so sweet because the 1st book is like this cozy fantasy. There's some heavy stuff in it, but it's definitely more of like you follow the family of the orphanage and all of these things. And this one is definitely a lot of how they are like trying to make a difference, and it's a pretty clear allegory for fighting for the rights of like queer people or people of color or like any minority. And just in this book they are magical, so it's pretty obvious what TJ Klune is trying to do, which I don't hate, but I am assuming that throughout this book it's going to be a little heavy-handed, which sometimes I don't love. I think if you're making like connections like that, it's cool if you can do it in a way that's subtle, if it's not like that exact thing, if that makes sense. But I am enjoying it so far. TJ Klune has just such nice writing. It feels very like his other books that I've read too have felt this way, but just very like Pixar adult, like Pixar movie but for adults. So anyway, I am very much enjoying this one. I will probably finish this in the next couple of days. I was thinking about listening to the audiobook, but I only have 1 Audible credit and only 2 more hours on my Spotify, which doesn't renew for another like 10 days. So we'll see where I get in this one, and I will update you guys as I get a little further in. But I just wanted to pop on here and say that I am really enjoying this one, and it's so fun to read a sequel to a book that you love so dearly. guys, I just got out of swim practice, but before I go to work, I wanted to update you on where I'm at in Somewhere Beyond the Sea because I read quite a bit last night. I could not fall asleep. I was like reading and reading and it was not putting me to sleep, which is very unusual for me, especially at the time that it was, but I am really enjoying it. And honestly, my major thought through this has been like, if this was not a sequel, I wouldn't like it. I love it so much because I'm already very connected to the characters. Like, they got so much personality in the first book that in this book I just love them. They're so sweet. So that's one of the main reasons that I'm enjoying this, is because of the characters. There is a lot of stuff in here that is like very heavy-handed. Like, I do feel like Arthur, who runs this orphanage on the island, in this book he's doing a lot of like moral quandary with the kids because they're all like potentially very dangerous magical creatures. Like, for example, one of them is the devil, and so he's talking to them a lot about like, well, do you really want to end the world? Like, what is good and what is bad? And trying to like lead them in the right direction and help them make their own decisions because they're just kids. So he's doing what any father figure would do for their kids and like teach them to live their lives in a morally, like basically to give them a moral compass. But it's feeling a little bit contrived. All that being said, I do love it. Like, I'm really enjoying it because I love the characters and there are parts that are making me laugh out loud. Like Chauncey, this guy, I'll put a little picture up of him that I found fan art of. Having that picture plus the voice from the audiobook last time has like, he's my favorite. But anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm excited to finish it and see how it ends. TJ Klune definitely had a point to make with this book, and he is not doing it subtly, is how I'll put it. So those are my thoughts for now. I will probably get pretty close to the end during lunch, and then I think I'll finish it tonight. I have about 130 pages left. Hi friends, I am about to make some kettle corn and finish my book. I have like 90 pages left. I didn't have as much time during my lunch break to read like I thought I would, so I'm so excited. I've also been craving kettle corn for the past like 3 weeks, so I'm almost more excited about the kettle corn than finishing my book. But I'm gonna make some popcorn. I have nothing else to do tonight. Yeah, I'm really excited to finish this book. It's so sweet. It's just like making my heart so happy. So that's the plan for now. I love kettle corn. I'm gonna sit here, read my book, eat my kettle corn, and let's see, I'm gonna put something, some cozy atmospheric thing on the TV. Peaceful autumn evening fireplace. All right, we've got one. Time to lock in. Hi friends, it is later now. I have made it to the epilogue, which is like 20 pages, and I know some people are epilogue haters. I am not an epilogue hater. I love to know what happens after the story. I love a happy ending. I love to see where the characters are, but 20 pages is like a little bit long. But anyway, I'm gonna read this and I will probably give you my final thoughts tomorrow, just because I think I'm gonna read this and fall right asleep, hopefully. So I don't really have any fresh thoughts. I'm gonna finish it, go to sleep, and I will give you my thoughts later on. Okay, as I'm reading, I just found a good example of what I've been trying to say, of like, he's trying to make a statement about how people treat marginalized groups in today's world, and sometimes it's pretty obvious what he's talking about. And I just read a sentence that like I've read this sentence a lot of times in this book, if that makes sense. This one says, "They're going to come after your children, indoctrinate them into thinking being magical is normal. It's anything but, it's a choice. Now more than ever, our way of life is threatened and we must protect our children. I can barely even sleep at night thinking of those poor lost souls. See something, say something." And that is like so clearly like a direct comparison to what people say about being gay or being queer. That's my point about how it's like very obvious what the metaphor is, and it's working, but like he was really laying it on in this book. Anyway, I just had to share that. Hi friends, I wanted to come on here. It's been a few days, but I don't think I ever talked about my final thoughts on Somewhere Beyond the Sea. I finished this on Friday morning. I literally had 5 pages left, and then I fell asleep and just could not stay awake enough to read the last 5 pages. So overall, you got my feelings as I've been reading this. Like, that really hasn't changed. I loved this book so much because of the characters that I already knew and was really connected to. Yeah, that made me really love the book. But like I said throughout this whole video, a lot of what TJ Klune was trying to say was just like very heavy-handed, and after a while that felt repetitive. But in his afterword, he's talking about like his goal is to be the anti-JK Rowling and write fantasy stories for queer people that are positive and like somewhat empowering and happy. And I think that this book, this duology, definitely does that successfully. And I think he's so right. Like, it is important to have queer stories or fantasy stories that focus on queer people or that are queer normative, or where that element of it isn't a huge part of the story. Just like how there are straight people in fantasy stories that have romantic partners, and that's not like, obviously we're not talking about their sexuality. So that's, I think, his goal with this book, and I think it was done really well. So if you're looking for a fun, sweet, cozy fantasy duology, I would definitely recommend these. I ended up rating it a 4.25 stars, mainly because of the vibes and my connection to the characters, but it was a really good book. Next on the list, another fantasy. This series is a trilogy, and I started it in August. I read the first book, then I didn't read the next 2. So the next book I have is House of Sky and Breath in Crescent City. I have this and the third book are the only Sarah J Maas books I haven't read, and honestly I had a bit of a difficult time with Crescent City. I wanted to like it, but I was having such a hard time getting into it. In like the first 100 pages, I really felt like I was reading gibberish. Now I kind of understand the world, but I am gonna have to listen to some like in-depth review video of the first Crescent City book today, because I don't really remember what happened. I'm sure it will come back to me, but I listened to that one mainly on audiobook, and this one I was able to get the audiobook too from my library, which was shocking to me. But looks like it's 801 pages. With the audiobook, I ended up reading the last one pretty quickly, so I'm hoping to get through this pretty fast. I know that with the Sarah J Maas book, once you get into it, they move pretty quickly, and 800 pages does not feel like 800 pages. When I read Kingdom of Ash, I read that one probably faster than any of the other books in the whole series, which were significantly shorter. Yeah, don't really remember where we left off in the last book, but I will refresh myself and maybe start this tonight. That's the update for now. I will talk to you probably after I get into this book a little bit, and we'll see what I think about this one. Hi guys, I wanted to give you a little update on Crescent City 2. I have been listening to this book today. I have like the full cast audio. I think it's like Graphic Audio or whoever produces it. It has like a soundtrack and sound effects and like I said, like a full cast. But it's almost a little bit overstimulating. Like, I always listen to my audiobooks on like 1.5 or higher typically, because the audiobook narrators always talk so slow for some reason, but that means that all the background music is super fast. And that was like listening to it at work today, like I wish I could just turn off the background track and just hear the words. But I think that's the only audiobook that exists for this that I could find anyway, but I was able to get it out of my library, so I can't complain. Didn't have to pay for it. But I'm on page 150-ish. There are 800 pages in this book. It is very long, but I do think that I will move through it pretty quickly, especially because I'm listening to it. I can't really say what the plot of this book is about without ruining or spoiling anything from the first book. But basically, Crescent City is like a modern fantasy world, and the main character, Bryce, like, she goes out to the club with her friends and drinks, and she has a cell phone, and they have like computers, and I'm sure you've heard people talk about this being like a modern day fantasy, which is different from what I've read in the past. Like, most fantasy books I've read are like kingdom, or like there's no like technology and stuff. So when I started the first book, that really threw me off. The names of the characters and the places and the like groups of people in this book are so confusing. I swear, like there's stuff that just like pops up that they've never talked about before, or like these words are so far from English that I just like have no idea what's going on, even though it literally is written in English. Yeah, I am having a little bit of a hard time keeping track, especially since it's been like a couple months since I read the first one. So one of my coworkers has read these recently, so tomorrow when I go to work, I will be asking her some questions about some of the names and people in this book. Overall, I am enjoying it. It feels kind of Sarah J Maas. It's interesting because most recently I read Throne of Glass by her. I read ACOTAR like a couple years ago, and so I think this one is probably a little bit closer to ACOTAR vibes than Throne of Glass vibes. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. The little like love connection that's happening in here, there's a lot of yearning going on, we'll just say. Basically there was a pact that was made that they would hold off being together for a while so they didn't rush into anything, and so that's really building up the tension. There's some things I like about Bryce, the main character, and some things that she's just kind of annoying a little bit. Like, I do think that she will have some character growth. Anyway, those are all my thoughts for now. I'm gonna go to bed, but I will probably update you after work tomorrow. I'm hoping to at least make it to the halfway point tomorrow. The audiobook is a two-parter, so if I finish the first part tomorrow, then I will be about halfway through the book. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. I have to leave for work in a minute, but I wanted to just jump in here quickly and talk to you a little bit about how I'm feeling about House of Sky and Breath, because I'm halfway through now and I'm going to be listening to more at work today. I'm enjoying the audiobook. Definitely the like graphic audio version, it's like full cast audio like I was saying, can be overwhelming at times because there's just like so many background sounds, and that's difficult, but it is nice to listen to the characters all having different voices. It helps me keep track of who is who and kind of connect to the characters a little bit more. Overall though, I feel like I'm having such a hard time not comparing this to Throne of Glass because I just read that series most recently by Sarah J Maas. I'm trying to like forget that she wrote this book and just read it as a fantasy book because it's a fantasy book rather than like reading it as a Sarah J Maas book. But her writing style is kind of similar, so it's hard not to. And I'm enjoying it. I really love her writing because it's just so easy to read. It's well written, but it's not like super flowery, and yeah, just like you just read it really easily. And I kind of like the main characters. Bryce is just kind of a little bit annoying in this book, and she's doing all these things and I'm like, girl, you are gonna get yourself killed. Like, she's a little bit too cocky for me, and sometimes that can be good. It's not bad to be confident, but there are lots of situations that she's putting herself in because of her confidence that I'm like, you should not be doing this. Like, listen to everybody around you saying you are being ridiculous and stop. You're gonna die. So anyway, those are my quick opinions. I'm hoping to be like within 200 pages of the end before the end of the day, which I think I should be able to do if I'm listening to the audiobook all day, but we'll see how the work day goes. Yeah, that's all I have for you right now, and I will talk to you guys later. Hi friends, I am getting to the end of this book. I am less than 100 pages away from the end. I'm on page 715 out of like 800. So I have about 85 pages left, and I'm having such a hard time with this book, and I think it's because of two things, which I've definitely already said. One, I read the first book months ago, and I kind of forget what happened in it, and two, I listened to that book instead of physically read it, and sometimes when I do that, especially if I do it like really quickly, that book I really didn't read any pages after like page 200. I listened to the rest of it, and I think I just missed out on some details. Can't really say too much without spoiling, but there's this whole plot with rebels, and I'm just confused who's on the rebel side, who the rebels really are. Like, this is a major plot point that I should be aware of and know what's going on, but sometimes I just have issues with comprehension. I read a little too fast sometimes, and I can't look it up either is the thing, because then I will get it spoiled for me, and I've made that mistake before. I am enjoying the characters and all of their like interpersonal relationships. I think that there are a lot of really fun ones, and I'm like pretty locked in on who's who. They're about to go do it. Like, if you've read this book, you know what they're about to go do at the end. I'm not sure how it's gonna go yet. I've heard the third book takes place over like less than a couple of weeks, and the third book starts like basically the same day that the second book ends. Yeah, I am excited to finish this because I know there's some like multiverse stuff that happens in the third book, and I'm excited to read that since I've read all the other Sarah J Maas books besides these two. So I wish I was enjoying it more, but I did kind of go into it knowing that I probably wasn't gonna like it as much as I loved Throne of Glass, because you get so much time in those books to fall in love with those characters, and I feel like there's just so much going on in these, and I'm not sure who my favorites are, you know? So anyway, also one other thing, Bryce, the main character, I kind of don't like her. Like, sometimes I like her, sometimes, I was saying this the other day, like she needs to think with her head a little bit more than she thinks with her heart. That's all I gotta say. Anyway, so I just thought I'd give you one last update before I finished this. What? Wolf drama, wolf drama. These guys are all doing a lot of reckless things right now. Like, something important is gonna happen. You have to be alive for that. Hi guys, I have been listening. I'm not only 40 pages away from the end of the book, and the audiobook isn't going fast enough for me because things are like really happening, which is very classic last 100 pages of a Sarah J Maas book. So I'm gonna sit and read and finish the end instead of listen to it. This is kind of crazy. I think why I was so confused about the different sides of things, like how I said there's some stuff about a rebellion, like there are the rebels, but I was confused who they were rebelling against, which was a little bit challenging for me to figure out. So now I sort of, like, things have been cleared up a little bit, and I think that even if I was reading a little bit more closely, I wouldn't have known, because like I don't think that we even did know. So unclear. I'm gonna have to debrief this with some people that I know that have read these books afterwards, because I feel like I'm just missing important stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna finish this book now. Hopefully pretty quick. I only have like 40 pages left, so. No! 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 Wait a second. Oh my god, I knew it. Okay, girl fight. Okay, last 20 pages. Oh my god. I'm so stressed out. I don't know how they're gonna get out of this. Dumb. This is what I keep saying. Dumb. What? 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 Wait. Wait a second. Oh my god! Oh my god, what? No way. No way. No way. No way. Oh my god. 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 Holy shit, my camera died, but luckily not before I got my reaction to the end of the book. Wow, I am so excited to read the next one, because I like, oh my god, this is gonna be a little bit hard to talk about without like spoiling anything, but if you've read this book, you know exactly what happens at the end. That was like literally the last 3 pages. And I did predict it, like as they were talking about, I don't want to say anything. There was a time like maybe 50 or 100 pages before the end where they said something and I was like, this must be connected. And I was right, but now there's gonna be a lot of saving to do for some specific characters in the next book, and I'm looking forward to it. I do feel like this was kind of a setup book. I feel like the last book, like I probably could have not read the last book and still read this book and have been fine. Like the last book felt almost like a completely different plot than this book. And obviously there's stuff that happens in the last book that matters in this book, but I think that I'm feeling much better about it by the end. And I think I'm gonna rate it, I think probably a 3.75, but I'm predicting the next book will be at least a 4 stars. So I don't know, I've heard some people are disappointed by the 3rd book, but I really enjoyed how this one ended. I finally feel like at the end I was like, okay, I do get what's going on now. So anyway, I am thrilled to have finished this book. This means I have one more Sarah J. Maas book that I haven't read that I will be reading this week, but I'm so happy to have finished this. The ending of that was crazy, but I'm not surprised. Friends, it is much later now. I have decided that I'm gonna read The Family Remains next, I feel like, because I have another fantasy book I'm reading and I want to read the 3rd Crescent City book. I need a little quick break from fantasy before I go into the 3rd Crescent City book, but I will probably read it this week, and that should be in another video which will be out later this month, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. This is the 2nd book to The Family Upstairs, which I read a few months ago. Frankly, I don't really remember that much about it. I had to look up the plot summary, but the first like 10 pages do a good job of being like, and this is who I am, and this is who my sibling, like it goes through all of the like pretty much important information that happened in the last book. It's interesting because it's following like one of the characters from the last book and then another character that we like knew of in the last book but only knew of like her husband, and her chapters are in 2nd person and the other characters' chapters are in 1st person, and I don't really love the 1st person narration so far, but chapters are quick. It's only like 360 pages, so I'm hoping to fly through this one, hoping that there's actually a good mystery, because The Family Upstairs was pretty good, but from what I remember, the mystery, the whole time I was like, it wasn't gripping me like a normal mystery thriller does. So we'll see how I feel as I continue to read this, but just wanted to update you guys that this is the book that I'm reading now, and yeah, we'll see how I like it. Hi guys, the next morning. I am more than halfway through this book and it's flying by. I probably read about 50 pages last night, and then when I woke up this morning I just laid in bed and read like 150 pages because I'm trying to finish this morning so I can start my next video later today. But I just wanted to give a quick update. I feel like very similar to how I felt about the last book, which is that I'm enjoying it and I'm reading it pretty quickly, but there are just some things that I'm like, I feel like in the last book the whole plot was like they were trying to figure out all the secrets of the family in the house, and without giving anything away, like you learn what the secrets are, and then it's kind of like resolved a little bit towards the end of the book, and it kind of at the end of that book kind of opens up the possibility for another book, so there was like a natural follow-up that could happen, but it didn't really leave me feeling like, oh my god, cliffhanger, what's gonna happen next? And because of that, I feel like the plot in this is sort of just like rehashing what went on last time. Yeah, we've gotten to a point where things are getting uncovered again and they're trying to cover them back up, and like, you guys can't do this twice. So anyway, it's just kind of the same vibe when like there's a romantic interest in a book that's enemies to lovers in the first book, and then in the second book they're like, we have to make them enemies again so that they can be lovers. It's kind of just like reopening the conflict from the first book so that there's a conflict in the second book. So, I mean, I'm flying through it. I'm already on page 225 out of 368. So I'm gonna read for about an hour probably, and then I have to head home and shower, and then I will finish it and finish off this video for you guys today. But I just wanted to give you my little midway update thoughts. I don't think I'll really update much more because I feel like there's not a lot that's happening that I have to say about it. It's difficult with the second book in a series, but especially with a mystery thriller, because like those are best to go into blind. So anyway, if you've read this book or if you've read The Family Upstairs, let me know your thoughts. I feel like I loved Lisa Jewell's newer book. I always forget what it was called. I'll put a picture of it right here. I don't remember the title, but the one about like the podcaster. I loved that one, and it totally kept me on the edge of my seat, and I was like really excited to keep reading it. I really enjoyed it. But these two are not my favorite, but I will still I'll still give her a chance. I probably will read more Lisa Jewell. It's hard to find a good thriller author that's not like writing a predictable book or whatever. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say right now. I'm gonna sit out here and read a little bit, and I'll talk to you when I have an update. I am 28 pages away from finishing this book, so I have to leave in about 25 minutes. I definitely think I can finish this in like 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm gonna do that, and then I will come to you at the end with my final thoughts. I think the point I was trying to make earlier is that in this book, there's nothing new happening. Like everything that's being told in this book, like the mystery that's unfolding, is all the mystery that unfolded in the last book. It's just like other people are finding out about it rather than who found out about it in the first book. So it's a very easy read. I'm reading it very quickly. I'm like curious to see how the story unfolds, but I wouldn't call this a mystery if you've already read the first book because there's nothing new happening, but there could be in the last 20 pages, so who knows. That's where I'm at in this book. I'm gonna sit and finish this, and I will let you guys know when I'm done. Last 20 pages, here we go. My God, that's a little too clean. I don't know how I feel about that. What? The ending of that book was way too convenient. Like, that's not, I'm sorry, but that was like 350 pages of pretty much just running in circles, and to end like that, I don't know. Okay, I have to go, but I will come back and talk to you about my thoughts on this later tonight. Kind of disappointed TBH, but I read it really quickly, so it's not like I wasted a lot of time on it. Okay, let me let this one simmer, and I'll come back to you with my final rating. Hi friends, it is the next day. Yesterday I just got busy, so I wanted to come on here and end this video, give you my final thoughts on The Family Remains now that I've had some time to sit with it. I'm rating this book a 3 stars. And I enjoyed my reading experience because it was kind of mindless, which was nice after finishing an 800-page fantasy book and also being in the middle of an almost 600-page fantasy book. So that part I really enjoyed. Other than that, I didn't really enjoy much else. Writing was mediocre. The plot, and I've said this, like, I don't know what the point of this book was. We already knew everything in this book by reading the first book. Except for maybe like 2 things that happened in the last 20 pages. Nothing was new, which is not really cool for a mystery. And it honestly, there weren't a lot of loose ends from the first book. It didn't have anything to like tie up or conclude from the first book. So if you read The Family Upstairs and you've read this book, I would love to hear your thoughts if you've read this book, but if you have read The Family Upstairs, I would really recommend picking up this book. That's just my opinion on the matter. These are the 3 books we read in this video. The first one was Somewhere Beyond the Sea, which is the sequel to the House on the Cerulean Sea duology. I loved this one mostly because I loved the first one, but I rated this one a 4.25 stars, I think. Then next, I finished House of Sky and Breath, which I don't remember if I gave you my rating on this one. I think I'm gonna stick with a 3.75 because I really only like super enjoyed the last 100 pages and the rest was kind of like, all right, when is the action gonna happen? But I am excited to read the third book, which, like I said, make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss the video where I'm reading that book, which is one I'm filming this week. And then I just finished The Family Remains, which is the sequel to The Family Upstairs. And I didn't like this one and I rated it a 3 stars. So a bit of range here, but happy to have checked some series off my list. If you enjoyed this video, let me know, and let me know if this is a series you want me to continue, because I do have some other series I'm in the middle of and I'm always starting new series, so I think this is a fun concept to get some stuff off of my TBR. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any more videos from me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, friends.